Christmas is over, so I guess it's time to drop the antlers, which is a bit of a shame because, well, I kind of like it. Hey guys, you already know that this is not the first rodeo for SwitchBot IP cameras. Previously I've talked about the IP indoor camera in this video there, so if you're looking for something small, portable that you can deploy at home, take a look at that. But today we are finally allowed to talk properly about this camera. Now the antlered version of it was given to me over Christmas as a prototype, so I could get a feel for it, submit my feedback, but it wasn't a production ready camera. It had a couple of bugs and, well, since then it was awaiting the release, and, well, now the SwitchBot Camera PT stands for pan and tilt, is finally released, and, well, obviously I have it in my hands. So what can I tell you about this camera and what has improved, what hasn't changed, and whether you should buy it? Let's start with packaging. It's nice and environmental friendly inside. You're gonna find obviously the camera itself, charging cable with a charger, and everything that you need to have to mount it on a wall, including bracket and a couple of other bits. The camera itself, it's a 1080p IP camera with wireless connectivity. It uses 2.4 GHz network Wi-Fi bands to connect to your internet and stream the footage over. But it's not just video stream, it's also equipped with a speaker and a microphone. And for storage, you have a SD card which is hidden just underneath the eye, and it supports up to 128 gigabytes cards. And as P&T stands for, well, moving the camera around, the camera will move around freely, 360 degrees in one direction, about 90 degrees in the other, which means for the most part you shouldn't have any blind spots. With the one exception. If you place the camera in that position like the one behind me, then you won't be able to see anything below it because the camera doesn't really look down that well and it obscures itself. Now the blind spot can be avoided by mounting it upside down or using an attached bracket, and that way you have no blind spots whatsoever. One of the things that I didn't like was the actual fact that we have a micro USB connector. Come on SwitchBot, you've done it before, you've introduced USB Type-C on your products. Why don't we have it in here? It's really annoying. You already know that the camera supports the video streaming and two-way conversations thanks to the included speaker which is hidden at the back. But what you don't know, that there are a couple of other features that are worth talking about, including object tracking, special privacy option, and, well, we're gonna get to that. Let's start with what's really important, which is video and audio quality. Now this is a 1080p camera, which means it looks good until you try to zooming in, and that's okay because it's marketed as an indoor camera and for the most part you'll be aiming at stuff indoors. At first I thought SwitchBot simply took the same camera from the indoor camera and, well, basically put it on a swivel. But that's not the case, the optics is different. Now on the PT camera, this one, you'll find more narrow field of view than on the indoor camera. And that has certain advantages. Obviously narrower field of view means you won't be seeing at the same time as much as on the indoor camera, but, well, you have the ability to pan around. But what you get in exchange are extra details coming from one slightly zoomed in image. It basically means that you won't have to zoom in into the footage as much. Looking at the sensor performance, what you get, at least on exported videos, is 1080p footage with 20 frames per second and about 8 megs per minute storage as MP4. That's providing you export it. Now, by default, the camera stores the files as a .media file format, and those are not as easily readable as I would like. I'll touch on that in a moment. But looking at the footage, it actually looks quite good, considering this is a 1080p camera. The compression happens only when the camera moves too fast, and for the most part, even at aiming through a window at windy reliefs, it doesn't look bad. What I do have to say that the camera, because it's marketed for indoors, doesn't have the greatest dynamic range, so if you're gonna point it at something that is very bright, for example against the window, then auto exposure is gonna, well, obliterate the image for you and create a very shadowy dark areas that you probably want to then move the camera around to readjust. But this is not a massive issue because, well, it's an indoor camera, and if you're pointing at something indoors, you don't get those high dynamic range requirements as you would in an outdoor situation. At night, the camera automatically switches to infrared and produces the more familiar black and white images thanks to the array of infrared LEDs included in the unit. It will give you enough details to figure out what's what in the dark, but you know what it's like, humans, they don't look the most attractive at night that way. Microphone is sensitive enough to capture the audio from the entire room or even further, and the included speaker is not only loud, but you actually sound quite pleasant and you shouldn't have any problems having a conversation, especially that there is a very minimal latency, and that's great. So we can tell the built-in speaker is actually quite loud and impressive, and you'll have no problem having conversation with whoever is on the other side. The same can be said about the microphone, which is used to capture the audio by the camera. At the beginning of this video I've mentioned enhanced detection functions, which we're gonna discuss now. First of all, you have a tracking, which means as soon as the camera detects the movement, it starts following around. For the most part, it's okay. However, if you point this camera at something that the camera doesn't really want to recognize, for example, trees in a wind, outside of the window, the camera will spaz out. Now, this is a problem that you can eliminate by selecting human detection only in the detection options, and that way the camera will follow humans only. Now, I do not have a pet, so I can't really test whether this works with animals or whether animals are properly filtered out, but with included 3 levels of sensitivities you should have a bit of a leeway in adjusting your settings and find something that works for you. Detection overall can also be set on schedule and be triggered via various smart home triggers, which is very useful. On top of that, you also have access to cruising, which is something that a lot of you will appreciate. You can set a schedule in which the camera will scan entire environment around, giving you an idea what's going on. It's especially useful if you have the camera set to continuous recording. By the way, it comes with continuous and event-only recording, 15 seconds per each event. And when set to cruising, the camera will simply look around, record the footage for you, so you could have a better idea of what's going on. Another function that you can take advantage of are the location presets. You can use the menu to record 4 different camera location positions and move between them. It's very helpful when you have external triggers, like for example contact or motion sensors from SwitchBot. You can use them to move the camera to a specific position, and that way will capture an object of interest in the range of the, PRR or contact sensor. Each movement is recorded in a SwitchBot app, and you also get notification on your Android phone. However, there is a problem with that at the moment, and I've been told they're kind of working on it, but I'm surprised they haven't fixed it already. Each time you're gonna get a notification about the movement, it will display a notification of which camera reported it and the timestamp. However, if you click on that notification, it will simply open the app and it won't take you to footage from that event. You'll have to navigate yourself to a messages where all events are stored and find corresponding events to play yourself. It's not how it's supposed to work, and I would imagine as soon as you click on notification it will take you to the playback of selected footage of interest. As the SwitchBot Camera PT is a part of the SwitchBot ecosystem, it integrates with other products from SwitchBot ecosystem. So you have several different actions that you can use in scenes automation. Now, as a trigger, you can obviously use the motion trigger. As soon as the motion is detected by a camera, you can trigger all the devices in your ecosystem. But you can also use tags like NFC tags or different triggers to set specific settings of your camera, including enabling privacy shield, starting or stopping motion detections, etc. And as I've mentioned, the privacy shield, it works in 2 ways. First, it will cut out the feed from the camera, so you can be assured that nothing is recording. But on top of that, the eye of the camera will also rotate all the way down, so there is no physical way of the camera to capture any image, and you'll be able to quickly tell whether the camera is recording right now or not by simply observing the camera. As this is a smart camera, it obviously integrates with smart speakers through corresponding skills. Now, I've tested it with Alexa ecosystem, and I can confirm that the camera connects within about 5 to 7 seconds, and this is one of the fastest cameras with the smallest latency. This means that as soon as you can connect to your This means as soon as you connect to your camera via, for example, Amazon Show device, you'll be able to talk to another person on the other end, and the latency of that conversation is going to be less than a second, which is really fast comparing to other cameras that I've played so far. And while the skill allows you to enable or disable the microphone, there is nothing obvious that lets you pan around. For that, you'll have to link your voice commands with specific scenes that move the cameras to those preset positions I've mentioned earlier. As my SwitchBot device collection grows, the app is getting busier and busier, and what's supposed to be a clean black and white aesthetics could use a bit of color to bring the most favorite devices to your attention. And I know you can select a custom order for each room, but it would make more sense to actually now add a bit of color to those styles to identify one camera from another, etc. All your motion events are stored in messages, and additionally you can browse the timeline in the playback settings. If you selected continuous recording, the timeline is going to change the color based on whether the recording is on or off. If you opted out for the motion events, you only see the highlighted events when they happen. But there are two things that I would improve on. First, you don't have any settings for motion events. By default, they are 15 seconds long, and there is nothing you can do to extend those or make them shorter. I wish there was some sort of settings that you can customize how long the camera is going to be recording for when an event is detected. Second change is how you share that footage from the camera with third party. If you press record, it doesn't actually record a file to your device. It's stored as locally within the app, and then you have to go and find that either a screenshot or recording and export it out, which is annoying because if I'm recording something on video stream or taking a screenshot, I would expect that to be already available on my Android system. It's a one step that isn't really necessary, and I wish they do away with it so we could simply just record the footage from the camera and share it instantly using third-party apps. There are two more things I'd like to discuss before I conclude this review. First, it's the SwitchBot Cloud. It's available as 30-day storage for your motion events, with unlimited storage in that regard, and it costs you £5.60 per month or £56 per year. Now the trick is that applies only to a single camera, so if you have multiple cameras you'll be expected to select multiple subscriptions. That obviously adds up very quickly, and the SwitchBot has no other packages that you could select it from. Which leads me to a thing that I haven't mentioned, RTSP, Real-Time Streaming Protocol. Unfortunately, this camera doesn't support it right now. I remember asking about it when I was reviewing the SwitchBot Indoor Cam. They said that they might reconsider adding a protocol, however that never came to fruition, and neither of the cameras right now is supporting this. Whether this will change in the future, I do not know. I'd like to see this support, but as a consolation prize, we have a SwitchBot API. If you're interested what SwitchBot API is, there is a video there for you. It seems that the SwitchBot Camera PT brings a decent number of features to their ecosystem. And the best thing is this camera is actually not too expensive. You can get it for $29.99 in pounds or $39.99 in dollars, which makes it really affordable, and considering the quality of the video and the audio, is definitely something that you should consider. So if you are interested, in the description of this video you're gonna find a little bit more information in the article. I would strongly recommend you to check it out, and the links to the camera as well, should they come handy. As for now guys, if you're interested in what's gonna be next, then whoa, you know how it works. YouTube has your notifications and subscriptions and everything, but the best way to follow my work is on social media because they share stuff in progress and it's easier to engage in a conversation. So for now guys, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.